Hello, hello, time for another monthly update. No, reset. Goodness me. The wheels have come off early today. It's been quite a surprising one, I'm not going to lie. I'll get to exactly why that is later on in the video. But first of all, let's start with my goals, because this is kind of laying the groundwork for why July was surprising. So my July goal, which I did not do, was to plan my autumn/winter shop update. But I wanted to make sure that I was running an Etsy experiment at the time, and I had been doing, it had phases. I did a video about it, some of you may know, and I'd been doing vlogs on each phase for the channel membership here. And I wanted to do the wrap-up, the roundup video, and get that posted on the channel membership before I planned out what I was going to make, because what I learnt from that experiment was going to determine what I decided to make for the shops. And I'm glad I did hold off, because what I found out from that experiment was not what I wanted to find out. Anyway, so that is up now. If you are a channel member and you haven't seen it, it's up. And also, if you're a member of the Patreon community, I've decided to share the channel member vlogs with Patreon as well, as bonus content, just to say thank you for the support, keeping the lights on, etc, etc. So yes, that's all up and done now. For those who are not in the membership or a part of my Patreon community, the overall takeaway from that experiment was that Etsy has not changed as far as being good for handmade sellers, or not, as the case was. It got off to an interesting start, but no. All of the changes that they've brought in have not yet, so far, had any impact. And what I found was that Etsy is still really good for supplies. I'm talking about my own shop now. I do handmade, hand-embroidered, hand-painted project bags and finished embroidery hoop art there that you can see, but I also do embroidery supplies. This stuff does not sell well on Etsy. It sells really well on my website, but on Etsy it's the supplies stuff, the lower ticket items and the PDF patterns and what have you that do better, which sucks because I like making that stuff. I do like making the supply stuff too, but it just saddens me that Etsy doesn't like handmade anymore, because, well, I'm not going to moan about that again. You know my thoughts on that. Anyway, so learning all of that from the experiment, it kind of put a spanner in the works with regards to my July goal of planning my next shop update, because I had planned for my next shop update to be all handmade stuff, and I just don't see the point now if that stuff just doesn't do well on Etsy anyway. So it's going to be a bit of a mix. I'm going to do pretty much what I was doing right at the beginning, which is to concentrate on the bigger ticket, handmade, more creative items for my website for Shopify, but Etsy are going to get the lower ticket items, the supplies, the patterns, that kind of thing. Because it does okay for that. It's just sad that it only does well for that, if you see what I mean. So all that to say, did I hit my goal for July? No. No, I didn't. August. My goal for August, I'm going to now plan my autumn collection. It was definitely worth running that experiment. It's made me understand my shop and my products and my business and how I need to go forward a lot better than I did before I did it, but it's just a bit depressing. Anyway, let's move on to budget. July was a bit of a pricey month. I knew it would be, but I needed more supplies, I needed more materials and packaging. My website domain was up for renewal, so I had to pay that. Oh, bear with. I bought myself some business cards because I've been printing my own and I hated them. So I thought, nah, I'm going to throw some money at this and I'm going to get some nice ones done. Look! They're so cute. That's just the back there. But yeah, I like this. I like the idea of having a little business card that has a side that can be pretty. You know, like you don't need to see all of my gubbins on the front. You can just have that maybe on your fridge or something. And then if you're like, oh, I want a such and such for such and such, or I want a such a thing for myself, follow the toadstool And if not, then hopefully that will just make someone smile. I like that. I think that's cute. And I've got to be honest, every time I see them when I walk into the office, it's a little hit of dopamine. So yes, goblin laughing means that I'm very happy with those. Money well spent. This is where it gets interesting, or at least it does for me anyway. For those who are new here, I kind of do an Etsy/Shopify website fight club. Who won out in terms of sales? So I make sales on both of them, but I like to sort of, gamify it for my own for my own enjoyment and see who won as far as bringing in the most sales. And it's usually Shopify, hands down. Last month in June, it was a tie, and this month it was Etsy. They have come back swinging. But I do need to say this. I made one sale on Shopify, just the one. I made more sales on Etsy. However, even with that one sale on Shopify, I still made more revenue and profit from that one Shopify sale than I did with my Etsy sales. Why? Because Etsy seems to only be good for smaller ticket items for me at the moment. So supplies things. So it takes me more sales to make the same amount of revenue and profit than it does from, say, 1 or 2 sales on Shopify. Sales isn't necessarily the important metric. For me, it's profit, because profit is how I pay my mortgage. It's interesting to me that even when Etsy wins, it doesn't win. But I can't do who won out in terms of revenue and profit without sharing my figures with you. And I've done that before last year here on this channel, and it brought out the ugly in a lot of people, so I don't do that anymore. I know, it's always 1 or 2 people that ruin it for everybody else, isn't it? Anyway, so yes, Etsy won out in terms of sales, Shopify won out in terms of revenue and profit again. But after having a look at some numbers from last year as well, sales are up on both my website and Etsy compared to this time last year. Visits are about the same. They had been down fairly recently, but they seem to have come back to where I was this time last year. My revenue on Etsy compared to this time last year is down. And I think that's because the items that I'm selling now are the lower ticket items. All of my items are available in the shop, so it's not a case of them not being available. It's just that the kind of customer that finds me on Etsy now, that's the sort of thing that they're after. Shopify sales was down compared to this time last year, but the revenue was up. Yeah, sorry to keep on wanging on about the website. I do know that if you aren't in a position to get a website right now, it can be quite annoying. Don't worry if you can't get a website right now, you do not need one. But yeah, just don't put all of your eggs into the Etsy basket, because they tend to tweak and tinker and change things so much that it can be quite stressful. So just for your own peace of mind and sanity, spread those eggs out. So my takeaway from last month, and also from the experiment that I did previously, tell me that, as before, it's pretty much the same. Etsy is best for supplies. Again, I'm talking from my point of view, so, take what serves you, leave the rest, etc. Lower ticket items, supplies-esque items, these are the things that seem to work best for me at the moment. And then on my website, it tends to be the bigger ticket, the more creative, the more time-intensive items that do better there. People seem to go to my website for the artwork, the finished stuff. It's my happy place. But Etsy is helping to keep the lights on, so I'm not going to trash them today. I'll save that for another day. Now, if any of this changes, I will, of course, report back, because that's kind of what I do here. Until then, I hope you're all well. I hope I kept you company for however long this video turns out to be after I've edited it, and I will talk to you soon. Ta-ra!